Welcome back, everyone, to R2Kast number 69. Today we have a baby on the podcast. As well as that, we also have Chelsey and Hamish. Sorry, John, I felt like I had to. We've got Chelsey and John here today. We'll get into their story soon enough, and we've also got the little legend that is Hamish. So would the three of you like to say hello?
Hello.
Will we get in now? Oh. Before we get on into another excellent episode of the R2Kast, I would just like to thank the sponsor for the show today, The Scottish Farmer. A weekly magazine highlighting everything you need to know regarding the Scottish agricultural industry, whether it's breaking news, events happening in the sector, market reports, classified ads, or just wholesome stories happening in the industry. The Scottish Farmer's got it for you. This is going to be so much fun. I was saying to John and Chelsey off camera, the last time we had a wee one on the podcast was R2Kast number 50. So 19 weeks ago, we filmed with you and Irvin and Emma Gray, and wee Len came on and was not so happy, as Hamish seems to be at the minute. But a good story for you all listening. Maybe if you're out there listening to the podcast and you are interested in getting into farming and you're maybe quite young and you're thinking, I don't know how to get in. Now, that's not the complete story with John and Chelsey. There was an obvious way in for them, but it's a really good story in that they're right at the start of their career. Well, what age are you guys?
21.
I'm 19.
21 and 19. So hands down, the youngest people we've had on the R2Kast. We've probably had, like by far, we've probably had someone double both of your age. We had an 80-year-old. We have actually. I think we have. So it's quite an interesting one in that regard. And yeah, this was originally why I started the podcast. I wanted to get folk to see how you could get into farming, what young folk are doing, all that sort of thing. And it's been quite an interesting story here. In that, it's involved 2 islands. So that's quite fun. R2Kast number 62 was the first time we ever had someone from Arran on, and my father, good old Coley, had a good chat. And then the first one, funnily enough, from an island was Emma and you, as we said. So, or was it Andrew and Sophie from Islay? Anyway, not as many islanders, but we've got a new island to talk about today. So, John and Chelsey, could you just tell me a bit about yourselves? Who is John and Chelsey?
I'm John, she's Chelsey.
I'm sorry, I had it the wrong way round. Yeah, tell us about your backgrounds, both of you.
So I actually am originally from a farming background at all. I've been living in Oban my whole life, like born there, raised there and everything. I've always done horse riding since a very young age of like 6, and I've always kind of done that, but never really actually farming until I met John. And then I went over to the Isle of Iona to go and visit, and I just totally fell in love with it. And I was like, you know what? I want to do this. It was amazing, just such a good experience, and that is now how I'm here. Just went for it.
Did you ever see a sort of future in the horse riding side of things, equestrian side, Chelsey?
Well, I didn't really know much about it as well until I got into farming. It was just kind of horse riding. I just kind of went horse riding, and that was it. Like, my mum had a horse and stuff when she was younger, so she got me into it, and so did my auntie. And then, yeah, I didn't really know. I wasn't really sure. I never expected to be here anyway, trying to get a farm and everything, but yeah.
So how long ago did you two meet? How long are we talking about? A few years? A couple of years?
Yeah.
A few years.
But when I met John as well, you weren't a farmer at that time, were you? You'd always kind of done farming. But at that stage, like, I didn't even know he was a farmer at all until it was the whole lockdown process happened and you moved back home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, you're a farmer. That's funny. Let's see what this is about.
Did he keep that bit quiet so he could pretend he had money? So were you born on Iona, John? Or maybe not born, but always been on Iona?
No, I was born in Aberdeen, and then we moved to Iona in 2013 because Dad got a tenancy on Iona. And then we were on Iona until we moved here, which was...
They moved in March?
Yeah, we moved like 2 months ago. So But yeah, I would say over here is definitely better than Iona and Aberdeen, I would say.
So 2013, so it's that 10 years ago, you'd have been about 10 in Aberdeen. Were your mum and dad still farming over there?
Yeah. Dad had he started off working with his dad on an estate, and then he got his own farm, which was 90 acres, and it was a tenancy. When was that? 2009, I think. And it was Blackies there, but it was 90 acres, but you were paying, double the price as it was on Iona. But on Iona we had 250 acres.
Right.
So it shows you how much the price is compared to the West Coast and the East Coast.
It's a totally different world. It's a totally different topography. It's totally potential for sure. And what just sort of looking at that situation, where your mum and dad have decided they're in Aberdeen, they're in good quality ground now. I know they're able to get more ground. Was that the pure incentive that they were able to get more, or did they just like away from Aberdeen? The thought of away from Aberdeen.
I think it was a bit of both, because we were surrounded by big arable people, so all of our boundaries, it was surrounded. We couldn't expand anywhere, and you always had competition of people always wanting to take your bit as well to get more land for themselves. So Dad tried. I think Dad must have tried for about 10, 15 other tenancies. Some in Scotland, some in England, and then we're lucky enough we got the one on Iona.
Yeah,
but that was quite lucky. Yeah,
it's been a running theme. I couldn't tell you. Probably 40 folk on this podcast that have looked at tenancies, got tenancies, whatever. No one has said it was easy. Not one person. And you would think after 30, 40 folk, one person might have been like, oh, I was lucky. I went there, I got it. Perfect. By chance. Nobody seems to have had that opportunity. It's just like bloody gold dust, and it's so hard to... which is a shame. Iona. What's Iona like? We hear about a lot of islands. There's different islands are famous for different things. Islay for whiskey, Arran for tourism, so on and so forth. But Iona's not one you hear of. Tell us about it.
I think it's famous for the Abbey, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the only thing I'm aware of.
There's a big Abbey over there, which is quite popular and stuff. It's a really beautiful island. If you ever get the chance to go, I would definitely go for it. It is very nice. But as well, it's so small. Like, to even go to Oban, you've got to take a good few days to actually, but by the time you get there, settle in and everything, come back, it's quite a travel as well. So you've got to go to Mull, and then you've got to drive across Mull, and then go to Finnefort, and then get another ferry to actually get onto Iona. So it's quite a trek away from a small island, but it's very pretty.
Well, I knew it was remote, but I did not realise it was that remote.
It's quite out of the way.
How is it? I'm guessing you probably know the answer to this. I'm guessing it's really low. How many farmers are on Iona?
So we were actually the only place classed as a farm. The rest of them were all just took on other crops over time. So there must have only been maybe 10 farmers on Iona, maybe I would say.
And that's really tricky. I mean, obviously now you're on an island again. I'm from an island. It's why we know each other. But the challenge we have is, like, for instance, mum and dad just yesterday, stock couldn't go away. Fertilizers more expensive to come over. Feed's more expensive to come over.
Yeah.
But that 55-minute journey, we can leave our houses and be in Glasgow in a couple of hours. That sounds like that must increase the price hugely. How did that work?
So we didn't use any fertilizer over there. You couldn't plough any ground or reseed certain areas because it was surrounded by the Abbey, in case you got like an ancient, bone or some artifact like that. And then our fields, there were a couple of them in the corncrake scheme. So the corncrake's a bird that stays on Iona over, winter months. And then, some fields were shut off. And then, we just didn't really put much fertilizer on or anything. It was just all...
And for feed to go over, it had to you picked it up, didn't you, from Finnefort?
Yeah, the Harborough guy would come over with your ton of feed on pallet, leave it at Finnefort. You'd go over with a trailer, pick it up, take it back to the farm. So it was very... There's a lot of mucking about.
I would struggle with that. Like,
I don't mind being nowhere and just being, you know, off the grid, whatever. But I would struggle with that pure detachment. Like, I can't get to wherever for 2 days, you know?
It was terrible in the winter time as well. Cause,
I was going to say that.
Since I've moved here, you hear a lot of people complain about the ferries over here. But compared to Iona, it's like, it's nothing. You'd be without a ferry for like a fortnight on Iona. And you got your shopping
like
from
Tesco
Tesco.
delivery would deliver to Iona. So if there's no ferries, you don't get any food. You've got a spar, but it was good when it had to be, but it wasn't the best.
Expensive.
So, yeah.
It's got to be expensive, though, isn't it? Like, it can't not be. I do remember the first time I met Andrew and Lorna was I was at Air Show on a stand, and these guys shouted me over, and I'm like, I know their face. Why do I know their face? Why do I know their faces? I'd seen them on Facebook, and had a chat, and that was fine. And they were talking about what you just said. Like, everyone complains about the boat and Arran, and I've openly said it's an issue. But they were like, you have no idea.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You haven't lived, which is very true, in fairness. You get used to with something, and then when it doesn't work, you get annoyed when it disappears. But so you met just before COVID, is that right? I'm just trying to get a sort of timeline here.
Yeah, 2019 time.
Yeah.
Mad, you guys were so young. You were like 16, and oh my god,
I know.
Yeah.
I feel so old. I never feel old.
So do I. I feel really old now.
Why
do you feel old?
Because there's a miniature me somewhere crawling about.
No, as Chelsey said off the camera, John said a miniature me. Chelsey said he's actually bigger than John, so maybe for the miniature Hamish. I think I said this at Arran's show this year for the listeners. I bumped into Chelsey. I didn't just bump into Chelsey and John. I'd had a good 1 or 2 pints.
All though, it's a good celebration.
It was a very good celebration. It was great fun. And where was I going with this story? There was a reason. Yeah, I just remember, or maybe this was at the Highland, speaking to both of you and saying, it is insane that you two are parents. Like, I can barely look after myself. And it's true though. Like, and I mean, I think as this story goes and everyone listens for the hour, they'll realise it's actually quite a nice story, given where you are currently sitting in a house. And I'm going to talk about that at some point. But Chelsey, the first time you went over to Iona, you said like, "Oh, I like this. This is for me. I quite like this sort of thing." And see, but did you see a proper future in farming then, or?
Yeah, like I kind of knew. Like I applied for college and stuff as well. I was actually meant to go to Orkney and go to college. I got in and everything. I got an interview, and then I found out I was pregnant. So that kind of got held back for a little bit. And so as soon as I kind of went over, I was like, I can literally wear whatever I want. I'm covered in mud, wearing waterproofs and welly boots, hair flung up, and I was just loving it. Like, I kind of knew from then. I didn't see myself on Arran at all, and with John, like, working up at a farm and me helping him and everything and hoping to do that. But I did kind of see it, like, in my future somewhere, but I still didn't expect to be here.
Well, it's how quick things have flown in for you. I mean, COVID, some people look at the start of COVID and almost discredit the time. Like, you know, it didn't happen. Yeah. You guys have basically met, had a wee one, moved from one island to another, had the fear of not being able to wait on that island, now on the island, and now starting to settle in. Like, it's been a manic year or so for you.
Yeah.
Like, insane. I quite like to get into the why you moved from Iona. Why did that come about?
Well, your mum and dad, they'd already been looking at other places. I think Iona, obviously, just for the price of everything and everything coming over. How long had they been there? They'd been there like 7, 8 years?
It was coming up for about 10.
Well, wow.
10
2013, did you say, was it? 2013?
Aye, yeah.
Yeah, so like it had been a while, and I think they were just maybe wanting to move. So at first, we were looking for houses over there to see what could happen, and just so we weren't actually properly planning on moving off Iona. But then there was no housing and everything, and it was just it was hard, wasn't it? Yeah. Trying to find a house. So we ended up getting a house in Oban, and then John's mum and dad moved, and then we came over for the first time, and we were like, wow, I want to move over there. Yeah, like let's go. So we originally moved to Oban. So we went from Iona to Oban to here.
Yeah.
I didn't realise the Oban part.
So we lived in Oban from July last year until, well, you kind of moved out in like April time for lambing over here.
Yeah.
And I was still staying in Oban, and John was just coming back like on the weekends and stuff. And then we were looking for a house over here, and then we finally got one September, August.
End of August we moved into this house.
Yeah. And
so we were in Oban for a little while as well in between.
Yeah.
Didn't realise that. So I guess you were in Oban when you were pregnant then, Chelsea, about the time, right?
Yeah, so I had Hamish last September. So from July to September, I was pregnant.
Yeah.
In Oban.
The coolest photo is him with the sunglasses.
Oh, yeah.
he does love a pair of sunglasses.
Oh my God. What a cool little guy.
He's cool. He's very cool.
I mean, I think my parents dressed me like a grandmother, so all the photos I have are just terrible. So
I am like that as well. Knitted clothes, haven't I?
Yeah.
He's got so many like knitted brown jumpers, and John just looks at me, and I'm like, it's well cute. I love it.
It's great, but I love following young families and stuff. It's so cute seeing all the different ways dress kids and all that sort of thing. So yeah, this is your parents moved to Arran March time? No,
about March, yeah.
Yeah, and you hadn't moved over, John, but you came over to help at lambing.
Yeah, I helped Murchie, or Jasper, as you know him. Lambing. That was mid-April. I came over to help him lamb, and then I was stayed here until we got this house. So it was lambing time, then marking time, then shearing time. But this year will be a lot easier.
He was like, oh yeah, I'll be home next month. Oh no, I've got another job. I'll be home next month.
Yeah.
Oh, I know somebody else, so I'm doing this now. So I'll be home next month. And I was like, yeah, it's not happening. You're just over there now until we move.
Yep.
I promise I miss you, Chelsea. Okay, I promise.
Yeah.
Okay, do that.
It's not coming back.
One thing I actually forgot to mention, on Iona, do you have any idea sort of what numbers of cattle and sheep were there? Yourselves.
So what did we have? Dad would have had about 200 yows, blackies, and then we had. Did we get up? I think we got up to about 20 cows, Highlanders.
Right.
I think we just got up to about 20 by the time we left. Yeah. So then obviously he's come here, and now he's got 50 blackies and 5 Highland cows.
So they came over. I realise this is sort of focused on your mum and dad because it's sort of where you're based, but
yeah.
I couldn't stand speaking to Andrew for an hour. I'm only joking. If he's listening, I apologise. You're a delight to talk to. I spoke to you for more than an hour many times. He's always quite good at buying the whiskey. That's why I'll keep him on my good side. They came over and they're working for. Well, are they working for Stuart? Or they get a tenancy? How does that work?
So Dad's doing contract farming with Stuart, sort of thing.
So they've got their own, the 50 and the 5, and then what sort of numbers is Stuart farming? Do you know?
Stuart is it? He's got 200 blackies and it must be 10 or 15 cows. Highlanders again. Yeah, I think that's
I'm sort of jumping back a bit here, Chelsea. You'd mentioned you looked at going to college. Do you think that would be something you'd still look at going to do?
Maybe in the future and stuff, once he's a bit older, or maybe, I don't know, even looking at an apprenticeship maybe and something that like to do with it. I think maybe going to college. I was meant to be moving to Orkney. And
you were meant to be moving there?
Yes, I was meant to be moving to Orkney. I was just kind of packing my bags. Bye, John. I'm away to college to learn about farming. Then I'll be back. But so yeah, obviously that didn't happen. It is something I would still really be open to do because obviously because I'm new to this and I'm like just coming into it. I do like my knowledge is getting better. I am knowing everything. I ask a lot of questions, but I'm getting there. It'd be something that I would like to know a lot more about.
And the asking questions part is great. I mean, I think there's some people, I've had a lot of people in here that are just completely not from farming, moves into farming in some way or other, like yourself, and they're like, oh, I just feel stupid, ask question.
Yeah, poor Laura.
I did it. It's the best
John
thing to do.
And Kelsey, all the time. I'm like, oh, what's that? Or what does this do? And blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, why are we doing this? And then sometimes someone asks you that. Like, we have folk over at Lambing Time, they ask you, and you're like, Good question. We just do it. Like we think, it makes everyone else think, which is that's quite useful. I mean, you mentioned apprentice. I don't know why I'm holding a juggling ball. You mentioned the idea of an apprenticeship. This isn't me trying to sell you a course, by the way, but the ag apprenticeship's brilliant. I mean, it was something I'd never considered when I was a student.
Yeah, well, John, did you not do something like that? Yeah, I did an apprenticeship. So John went to college kind of thing, and he done an apprenticeship himself, and that's what he said as well. I think, how long did you go to college for altogether? Was it not like once every 6 months or something?
Just because by the time I went and moved from jobs, I started the apprenticeship and I took it to the other job. I actually only went to Oak Ridge once.
All right.
But it was only for, what was it? Was it for a week? But it was just
and
by
the
the
rest
time.
Was all just done at the farm?
Yeah, it was just by the time I took the apprenticeship from one job to the other, it kind of crossed over. So, yeah. But I got the certificate. But that's the main thing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was. I think. Well, not I think we do it as sort of 6 full week terms throughout the course of a year that you're in, and then at the farm, and it's quite a good way to sort of. You need more than one time, I would say. That seems quite little, but no, they're worthwhile. It's a good way to sort of get that ground, and you never know, you might find yourself thinking, "Oh, it's quite fun." That's what I did. I never went to study that long. So you're over now. You're starting to. This is more maybe yourself, John, when you'd left Chelsea at home, which is very kind of you. Got involved at lambing time, marking time, all that sort of thing. Starting to pick up work on Arran. Did you find that quite easy?
Yeah. Shearing was pretty easy because Neil was giving it up, so Stuart needed something pretty quick. So that was.
But did you find the actual shearing easy?
No.
Oh, that's a good question.
Not at all. No. But it was nice and easy to pick up the work. Enjoying it so far. Hopefully enjoy it again next year.
You asked there, did you find the shearing easy? And you say you didn't. I know you get a bit of a sore back, haven't you?
I think it's more just because I've not done a shearing course, which is the thing you need to do, really. So it's all about posture and positioning. Because this is my first year using the solid shaft instead of flexi. It was a lot of, you got to stand a certain way and then you've got to bend but I'd like to go on a course at the start of next year.
I would never do it, personally. I sheared 4 sheep this year and it was so hard.
well, it's funny you say that, Chelsea, because I class myself as a bit of a shearing expert, and I've shorn a whole 17, so you're almost at expert level.
Yeah, definitely.
That's what I was going to say. You said you struggle a bit with it. Having watched you shear quite a lot of sheep from the sidelines, not you at the sidelines, me on the sidelines. I would say quite the opposite. Seen a few. This is me commenting to someone watching every time because I don't do it. Jumping over to the solids as opposed to flexi is always the hardest thing, but it's the best thing to make you a good shearer. So I don't have any doubts, John, that fingers crossed the back's fine over the course of the next few years. You'll be a brilliant shearer, and maybe Chelsea will get into it. Maybe you'll have your own trailer.
You never know.
Yeah, maybe you'll knock Stuart out of the game.
Maybe.
Yeah. I'll never say never, but it's very hard. My back, after doing it for like 2 seconds, I'm like, John, can I stop? He's like, no, you're sheeping this sheep. I'm like, great.
I think they say it doesn't stop hurting until 10,000 sheep.
I think they say that, but once you get to 10,000 sheep, that you should be pretty good at it by then. Yeah. So I've got a wee while to go. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've only got 9,983 to go. So
You'll get it, don't worry.
No, I won't, because I refuse to do it. I care about myself a wee bit. Chelsea, when did you make it over to Arran? September?
I was kind of coming over and like visiting and stuff and like seeing you guys. Or John would come over on the weekend and bring me back with him, and I'd kind of stay at Lorna and Andy's as well. But I probably came over August time.
About August.
And I started working in the Douglas Hotel, doing 3 days a week in there, just front of house and stuff. So I was staying at Lorna and Andy's and just working there for about 2 weeks, was it? Mm-hmm. And then we finally got this amazing house, thankfully. Beautiful, great house, can't complain.
Let's just hope the landlord's here, and you know, that's why it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And amazing.
Yeah, very grateful.
It kind of leads me to a question. First off, the Douglas staff are brilliant, from what I understand. Good place to work.
Yeah, it's such a good place to work. I love it, and it's amazing as well. Because obviously coming over here as a young person as well is quite hard with a kid as well, like not knowing anyone. I'm in Kilmorey, which is a bit further away from everything as well. So like going there and meeting people, like I've met some amazing people and friends, and it's good. It's really good. I'm enjoying it.
No, good. And the food is brilliant. I love it. And
it's dangerous though, because you get your lunch there. So I'm like, better stop eating all that.
That's lethal, actually. When I was the chef at Cafe Time, I could make whatever I wanted for my lunch, and Jesus, I wasn't making burgers. I was a burger. Like it was. It was a problem, but I think the Douglas gets a bit of a sort of a name for being expensive, but it's so wrong. It's not expensive. I think it's well priced.
We did the other night, and see for what you get, it's really worth it. Like,
it
was nice, wasn't it?
I would say it was like expensive.
And like I'd say like we got burgers, didn't we? And they were big, like chunky burgers. They were like good.
No, I like it a lot. But yeah, you moved over, and I kind of wanted to talk a bit about this. You don't have to go into names, or you don't have to go into anything you don't want to say, but the finding a house thing is a problem on Arran. Yeah, it's there's
a massive problem.
Yeah, and I don't know how much negativity you'll say with it, because you guys are in the position of trying to get a house, and I get if you don't want to, but I will happily say the second home and holiday home thing is a ridiculous issue, to the point that I am someone that kind of wants to get onto the property market and own more than one house. I definitely do. And I know I'll be looked down on for that. But I never at any point intend on those houses not having people in them. No. And the fact that people can afford a house to the point they can have it sitting dormant 51 and a half weeks of the year and not give a shit about the fact there's people that want to get involved in that community. Young people bringing up kids here that are going to be the future of Arran is shocking. So could you tell us your sort of experience on actually trying to find the lovely house that you've said you're in and you can see is lovely?
It was awful.
I know it was
actually awful.
I can't remember how many we tried for.
I think we tried for like 3 or 4, and then it would get to the point that like some people were telling us the houses were coming up for rent, but then all of a sudden it's actually getting sold now, so we're not renting it out anymore. And then I'm like, fine, like must have tried for maybe 4 or 5 different houses that we'd seen that came up. And obviously with dogs as well, I totally understand some are pet free and stuff as well. I do get that, but obviously with having working dogs, we couldn't go for those houses. And there's a page as well for people on Arran to look for houses, and it was it was just full. Nobody was actually putting houses on, or if they were, the messages underneath them were like huge, and you kind of had to be on there first to make sure. And I think as well, it's kind of got who you know. Like this house didn't get advertised. It was like you meeting people and talking to people who said about opportunities coming up. There was a few that were quite annoying in the process of, we might sell it, we might not sell it, I don't know, you can come and have a look, but we don't know what we're doing yet, kind of situation, which was a little bit annoying. But we wouldn't be here if it didn't happen, so.
No, that's true, and sometimes you've got to go through a tough time to get to a nice thing, but like,
I hope you've kicked your feet up and got comfy and enjoying another fantastic episode of the R2Kast with another really interesting guest. I would just like to quickly take another second to plug the sponsors of the show today, the Scottish Farmer, and I would strongly advise you to go out and pick one up this week and see even more of the fantastic people that are in our industry.
The one thing, I mean, I obviously sort of spoke to you, and if I could ever hear houses, I was trying to get in touch with you soon as I could. The one time that I felt that is just off was that time you were shearing with us, John, and you were like, I'm Roddick at 5:30, said to Stuart, basically, I'll go for half an hour. And it basically had been made out that it was you guys. And then they said, I think they said they were selling it. And I was like, well, why did you bring them over? Like,
And then it was like one day me, Hamish and John all got ready. So I think it's the same house we're talking about.
Yeah.
and we were all meant to go and visit the house, but it turns out the people weren't actually even over here yet. So we were all sitting ready, waiting to go and view a house that's meant to be going out for rent. But they're actually not even on the island anymore and didn't tell us. So yeah, it was a bit of a hard situation, a bit rubbish, but it's good now.
No, it is, and honestly, one of the nicest things that happened over summer was hearing that you guys have got a house. I was so chuffed about it. It was really good because I'm now no longer an Arran, so it meant I didn't have to deal with you. Nah, not at all. Honestly, I thought it was brilliant because you're two folk that are keen on getting into farm, in farming and keen to get in the future. And it's
There's a lot as well. Sorry.
No, you go. Keep going.
There's a lot of like farming opportunities, I think, over here for us. Like in the future and stuff as well. That was the problem with Iona. The island's too small. You can't make up a farming opportunity from nowhere.
Yeah.
So on Iona, like there wasn't anything. And Oban as well. Oban, wasn't going to happen there either. Yeah. So it's good over here. It's nice, settled in, and there's so many opportunities I think that'll come up in the future. Hopefully.
Well, I mean, even just thinking off the top of your head, I'm not going to say names, but there's probably 5 or 6 places you could assume would need someone else to manage them in the next 10 years.
Yeah.
And that, perfect. If you guys get involved and you're feeding at every farm, John, you're going to be your eyes are going to be your ears are going to be in the ground. You're going to hear what's happening, all that sort of thing, and quickly that'll happen. I don't know, Chelsey, if one thing you'd consider over the summer would be sort of doing a bit of rousing. I don't know if there's a thing for that, but that's good money in itself. I don't know if
I think I might have a wee lambing job as well, don't I?
Excellent.
My first ever lambing job next year, which I'm very excited for. So that'll be good. I don't have much experience because obviously not last year, but the year before. During lambing, we found out I was pregnant, so I wasn't even allowed near the shed or anything.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And then last year, I lambed a few sheep. It's something else, a total different experience, but it's weird because I actually loved it because I was like, this is amazing. So I'm excited to do that next year.
No, that'll be brilliant. Really good. There's no better way to learn sheep farming than getting into lambing. You see the good, the bad, and ugly. You pour hours into heartache and positivity, and it's just brilliant. I love lambing time.
Or like John waking me up at 4:30 in the morning. Right, come on, we're going. Okay.
Picks you up out of bed, rattling.
Wake up.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Come on. It's very much so. There's the bad sides as well. Yeah, for sure. And one thing that a few folk have sort of got in touch with me in the podcast lately is sometimes we'll say something I don't fully clarify what I mean. Chelsey said there, if you're listening, she said that she couldn't be around lambing when she was pregnant. The reason for that is there's a zoonotic disease called enzootic abortion in yows, which you can basically pass on to sheep. So pass on to people from sheep. So you can lead up to.
You learn something new every day because I also didn't know that. I just knew I couldn't go near them. So there we go. Every day is a school day.
Every day is a school day. That's the truest thing on the planet. I used to laugh at that saying, but it's so true. But a funny question that came out, one of my apprentices last week asked me, they were like, wait, it was a male apprentice, so you can catch an abortion? I'm like, you won't, mate, but it can happen if you're pregnant. So yeah, definitely a thing that you shouldn't be going near at all. But do you see yourself, Chelsey, maybe easing into a bit more agricultural work as well as that lambing, or?
Yeah, hopefully. Just I'm loving working at the hotel and stuff just now, but in the future I would hopefully like to be like doing what you're doing and just working on a farm all the time. And I come with you like when I'm off and stuff. But obviously that is your job. I would in the future like my own job doing something similar. And kind of get out of hospitality. As much as I love it, I think I'll always do like the odd night or always help out whenever I'm needed and stuff. But in the future, I would really like to just be on the farm all the time. Don't have to look pretty for customers, covered in mud. Yeah.
Hear that, George? Looks pretty for customers.
I know. What about me?
Pretty and waterproofs.
Yeah.
Can't beat Flexithanes, can you?
Oh.
Is that me wearing them, John?
I'll tell you later.
Yeah, maybe the problem is not wearing them. But anyway, that's a different thing. It's probably a good thing actually to have that there, Chelsea. Is a steady income, it's secure, it's there, and it's until you really get settled into having a place. So I would say it's a good thing to stay in hospitality for some time. Well, I don't want to say that because it's kind of the question to end, but I guess you've got a wee man there. He's there. Do you see him being involved in? Well, not do you see? Would you like him to be into farming, or are you just like whatever happens, happens?
I think he definitely will be. He's already obsessed with cows and quad bikes and tractors.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's totally up to him with whatever he wants to do when he's older.
Obviously.
But,
yeah.
I'd like him to,
Yeah.
But I think everyone goes to the stage when they're a farmer's son or daughter. They kind of go out of the stage of not wanting to do farming for a while.
Yeah.
Because I went through that for like a year or two. I went to Oban and worked in a garage.
That is when I met John.
Yeah. So
Working in a garage.
Broken car by any chance? And then broken car, go in, meet John.
No. But yeah, I think everyone goes through that stage where they don't want to do it, and then they actually realise that they do want to do it. So, I mean, he'll probably do the same thing, but he might not. He might. You don't know.
Well, that's it. And I mean, I think I'm not in farming. Well, I'm in farming. I'm not farming. I didn't want to farm ever.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, like his age maybe, but just did the odd lambing here and there. I did the lambing here and there, and then just wanted to go away and whatever. It wasn't farming. And then I chose college, and then suddenly I quite like the whole industry again. So it's there's so many different ways to find your way into that sort of place. It's I love the way you just sit him over the sofa. I love it. I love it.
There you go.
He's so quiet. I shouldn't say that. He's going to start crying now, isn't he? Now I've said.
He is very content all the time. He's a very good baby. Can't complain.
Yeah.
It's
just
good.
like my head over, so it's fine. Good boy.
I just want to say, if you do not dress him up Halloween-y, I will not release this podcast.
All right, we've got a caution. Don't worry, we've already got one.
Oh my God, am I about to see it?
I was just waiting for the caution.
Oh my God. So excited. If you're listening on Spotify, this is going to be a really weird experience for you.
Yes, we'll have to dive to you.
But we are just about to see the cutest little, well, I'm going to guess pumpkin. Good guess? Wrong guess?
No. Good guess, but not quite. This is just the head part of it. There is the rest of it to come, but.
Oh my God.
He
doesn't like it. He can't see. That's so cute. No, he doesn't like it. I feel terrible. Take it off.
Do you like it?
Oh, there you go.
Oh, there we go. He's used to it now. Are you a bat?
Do you know what happened? I was saying earlier about having Emma and Ewan on the podcast. What happened at this stage was they brought wee Len on, and we started having a chat, and Emma just goes, "Oh shit!" And I'm like, "What?" And she's like, "I've burnt the dinner."
Oh, no.
Do you know, every time you sit him up and he can see me, he cries, which is
he's
probably
very
speaks volumes.
independent.
Yeah,
he does like cuddles, but he prefers to be roaming about destroying the house.
Like knocking over our
great setup.
Our cameras or something.
You've got it sat on a washing basket, don't you?
No, I've got it
A
sat
high
up
chair.
in the high chair.
It's a high chair. That's genius. I don't have one of them, funnily enough. I don't know why I would have a high chair.
We've got a spare one you can have if you want it.
I appreciate it. I think if anyone ever came to my flat, they would think, Wallace, what's wrong?
What's going on?
Who are you?
Yeah, exactly. It's like when my mate had a wee one, Josh, and Leah had Darren, and I was going up to meet her for the first time, and I took a photo of like a basket full of like, I just bought them like a baby care package, like nappies and talcum powder and all that sort of jazz, and I took a photo and sent it to my gran, and I was like, just so you know, right? She has like 5 missed phone calls. I'm like, sorry, Kate, I apologise. You're not going to be a great grad yet. But it'd be quite interesting to ask, guys, use our young people, and I know you listen to the odd podcast here and there, and I know there's a lot of people that do that are looking to get in, as I said. But would you say there's any standout challenges just being your age in this industry?
I would say there are some. I would say, just like everyone, thinks young people aren't hardworking or not willing to learn new skills. I would say that's probably their main challenges. But, if you go and ask a farmer if you can go help them at lambing time, I'm sure he would probably say yes, or she would say yes. But it's all about getting your name out there and not being afraid to do, some free work as well, not expect to get paid straight away. I did that with two of my jobs, went for a month trial just to see what they thought, and then went from there and decided on the wage from there. So, yeah, I would just say take any opportunity you can, take any, advice from other farmers, because obviously they've been doing it for a while, longer than you have in it. So, yeah, I would just say take as much advice you can and take any opportunity that comes to you.
You went really far with that question, and it's annoyed me because you've ruined the last question of the podcast now because you know
Yeah, I was going to say.
Sorry,
but it's fine. We can still get into it. But one thing you said, take all advice you can. I've heard so many folks say, "Oh, I worked for them, and they just talked a lot of nonsense all the time. I don't really care what they had to say." My mum and my papa always said to me, "Everyone has something for you to learn from. Everything has something for you to learn." And it's so true. Even if they are that negative person that you're like, this is just a load of rubbish, at least you're learning, well, that's a load of rubbish.
Yeah.
There's always stuff to pick up on. So, yeah, no, I would say that's great. This has been one of these podcasts, guys, if you're listening, much like number 65 with the Roans, where I feel like I've been organising it since about the millennium.
Yeah. It's been a long time coming.
I've just realised you two weren't even born at millennium.
No.
Oh my God.
That's not millennium.
Yeah, that's not. You were born after the millennium then, John.
Oh, sorry, right. Oh. Wow.
I'm 2003.
Just shut up and leave.
Poor boy.
That's ludicrous.
Hamish is 2021.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I've never even considered children have birthdays. That's insane. Oh my God. 2021. That's mad. All I can think about with 2021 is I'm not wearing a mask. Not a child. That's insane. Oh, wow. Yes. Well, thank you for making sure.
It's crazy, actually. The whole mask thing. I forgot about that.
I know. Wow.
I hated it. And I bet you guys with the hospital as well. Oh, the pregnancy, you had to wear them in there, and
that was horrible.
Awful.
That's not fair.
And everything was awful. John was allowed to visit me for 4 hours a day.
Yeah.
Until I went into the actual labour room, and then you could stay. Mm-hmm. And then you had to leave again, didn't you? Straight after. I've just got this little child, and they're like, "Yeah, John's got to go home," and I'm like, "Okay, what do I do?"
That's not fair.
It's crazy.
If you guys let's say you two were in that situation, you were. Let's say you're in that situation, and you felt that way about COVID. Fair. If you thought, well, the best thing is for the wee one, John, you go home, whatever. Fair, yeah. But they should not tell you that. I thought that was so wrong.
We had to do COVID tests and stuff as well in there anyway, so they knew that we didn't have COVID. And you'd think it would be safer if you stayed in there, but instead you had to go home, didn't you? You had to sleep in his car for 2 nights in the car park because there was no hotels anywhere. But we done it.
We're here.
Yeah, and you get a great wee guy there, and everything was fine. But still, it wasn't. It should never have been that way.
No.
I mean, Jesus Christ! I felt tired doing a COVID test after a hangover. Chelsey, you were in labour and you were having to do a COVID test. That is just not fair.
It was awful.
God. But yeah, no. At least it's all worked out fine. I said for those of you listening, it's one of those podcasts that it's taken forever to get organised. I've been the issue twice. There's been timing issues. I've sent you 3 links this time because I get every date, everything wrong. I sent you the link to a podcast I'm filming on Thursday, so you might join in there. It's just all been an issue from start to finish. So I apologise about that from my end. It's been great to finally film, but there is always two things we finish each podcast with. The first one, John has ruined, which is if you had any tips for folk coming into farming, what would you say? It would be good for both of you to say. It would be interesting, John, to hear your perspective from a farming family, but still not able to sort of sustain yourself as well, find your way in elsewhere. And then Chelsea, from someone that, yes, you've met John and you sort of came into that farming family, but now you're finding your way in as well. It would be good to hear your tips for that. And the second thing, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Which I hate to say, Chelsea still makes you younger than me.
But you see your tips first.
I would say you have to get out of your comfort zone to achieve stuff. By sitting and just kind of not asking questions and waiting for everything to come to you, it doesn't happen. You've kind of got to go out there. You've got to be uncomfortable and ask people questions and do stuff that's different, and then you'll find out you either do love it or you hate it. But you've got to find out by just sitting there and not having...
Mm-hmm. Or getting a boyfriend that's a farmer.
Yeah, or that. Do that. Great idea.
Oh, right. Why haven't I got a boyfriend?
Yeah, I know. Wow.
Oh dear. I was going to say, yeah, see that the thing you said, something along the lines of just try it, see what happens. There's a saying, and people that know me quite well know I don't pick up sayings. They just don't wait in my head, and then I question what they mean, and then they don't actually mean that because they're a saying, and everyone just knows that's what they mean. And I'm like, well, why do we know what it means? Is it wrong? But anyway, I feel like I'm getting really angry. The saying is, there's always an exit door to each room you go in. And I think that is so true. So if you go in,
very true,
go in the front door, you'll find a way out. But if you don't go in, you're going to get cold. That's probably not what the reason for the saying is, but you know, it's a good saying that. So yeah, John, your tips, blackies, of course.
Oh yeah, get blackies. That's the best tip I can give. Yeah, just what I said before. Just take any advice you can, take any opportunities you can. Don't be afraid to work for free. Obviously, not the whole time, you know. But to get in, do some free work. Yeah, that's a really good way of getting in. Not trying to, you know, give you any credit or anything, Walsh, but apprenticeship would be.
I don't deserve credit because I was nothing to do with it, John. So
work at the college almost. But yeah, an apprenticeship is a good way to get into it, I think. For people, you know, there's not a lot of farmers that want to sit in a classroom. Like, I know for me, I didn't like sitting in a classroom at school. So I think apprenticeship is probably the best way for most people, unless you want to do college full time. But yeah, that's what I would say.
I mean, I'd have made it fun, just so you know.
Yeah, John, well done. I'll give you credit and then I'll slag off your job.
Exactly. These lecturers don't
know what I said and do exactly what Wallace does, okay? Don't take any advice from me.
Where do you see yourselves in 5 years? Here's a question. In this house?
I don't know. It totally depends. I've literally got no idea what the future holds. Definitely something in the farming side of everything.
Yeah.
But I don't know, an opportunity might come up. Tenancies are gold dust, but you never know. If that was to come up and there was a house, then no, I don't think I would still be here. But I don't know. There's just so many opportunities. Definitely something to do with farming, and hopefully something that's more us on the farm instead of kind of working for people. I know 5 years is quite a short time. Maybe like 10, 15 years that'll happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, I see myself hopefully on a farm, full time, doing something.
And just, I think it's quite important to mention that, you know, I know you guys think that I'm a grandparent, but I'm still quite young. And I think a lot of people say this to me, and it's true. I'm conscious that I will say I've done nothing in my life, right? I'm 25 and I've wasted it all. I've done nothing, right? And people are like, no, that's not true. You've done this, this, and this. And I feel like I should tell you two this. I don't know if John can hear me at the minute, but I'll tell you two this, that you're 19 and 21. Like, where you guys are at the minute is insane. Like, you've moved away from home. You've had a wee one. You've found a place. You're finding your way into an industry you want to be into. Like, that's insane at your age. And I think you should probably sit back and be like, shit, we've done really well in that sense. So, like, don't set limits on what you're doing at 24 and 26 and 31.
Yeah, well, that's it. Like, I literally don't know what the future holds. I could be anywhere. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like just totally, I'm just grateful to be where I am and have done everything I've done so far. Like, it's been amazing. It's been really good.
I think that's brilliant. I don't think you can ask for much more. John, where do you see yourself at 26?
Right here on a podcast with you.
Yeah, a 5-year update. Maybe
Maybe.
you guys will be the podcasters of the day, and I'll just be an old has-been who paved the way for you.
Probably the same as what you said. Hopefully, maybe not our own place. I think it'd be nice to have our own place, but
You can dream,
yeah.
but yeah.
But realistically, I'd like to think there'd be an opportunity to come up over here within the next 5 years. So I'll say still an Arran, hopefully with our own.
Sort of thing.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Not working for someone, working.
No, but even if
Like,
it
in
was
charge
like
of our own
maybe not
place.
even our own farm, but say maybe even we'd found a little bit of land to rent somewhere, and we had our own
Yeah.
20 sheep.
Yeah.
Like, not our own farm. Like, that might happen. You never know. But I'd like to have our own little field somewhere with our own sheep, a horse.
No, not a horse. But she
Oh,
is.
yeah.
I get the attraction to a horse. I don't know why, but in my head, the perfect life one day is in Canada. Don't know why. Well, I do know why. I'll tell you why in a minute. And having a little ranch that has a horse. I don't know why that part is. I just feel like having a horse would be so nice. But it's that desire is purely based off of Heartland.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Have you seen Heartland?
I think.
Yeah, I think so too. Go for it. Go get
Yeah.
yourself a horse.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't ride it. That would be unfair.
No.
I wouldn't like to break a poor animal. Even a Clydesdale wouldn't manage that. But anyway, as you
Don't
say,
be so hard on yourself.
it'll be hard on the horse, trust me. Be standing there saying to his Clydesdale mates, Christ, that time. But also, you, I believe you put out on Instagram or Facebook or something like that recently, should we make a YouTube channel? The answer is yes, and you could be millionaires by the time you're 24 and 25. So
I do really want to make a YouTube channel, but it's the whole talking. Like, we've tried it, haven't we? And then I'll start videoing myself, and I just can't stop laughing.
Aye.
Like, I'll be
But,
like,
like-
oh, so today we're away to, and then that's it.
It's
Laughing
like even
fit.
before we came onto this podcast, we were like,
Yeah,
I don't know
like,
if we could talk.
yeah,
on the
I'm like-
camera. It's nervous.
have you made one mistake the whole hour? Apart from the fact, as I say that, your camera disappeared.
okay, I just got a phone call there. Sorry if that came
Don't
up
get-
on that.
No, it doesn't. It comes.
Oh,
usually
No, okay.
it's like nothing happened. That you said nothing wrong. So and you've never done it really before. Trust me. Go back and watch the first video I put up on R2K. It's me, right? So if you're filming yourself, you should be about here. I'm quite bad for being like there, right?
Yeah.
But it's me talking about the stratification system, and I'm not joking when I say like the camera's like here, right? And I'm talking like this, and I'm walking around. It's a nightmare. It's like everyone's like, I didn't know beards had mouths, and it's just don't worry about that.
It's
Everyone,
nerve-wracking though. Like, it is scary. Like,
Yeah.
it's not even. I think once we made it, it'd be like as soon as you click that post button, it's
Yeah.
like up. Yeah, I think. Yeah,
But it would be
I would
quite cool.
definitely be up for trying it.
Mhm.
But then it's like we tried to do it together, and then as soon as I'd laugh, you'd laugh, or you'd say something, then I'd start laughing at you. We'd have to do it separately. We could go on a podcast.
Yeah.
We could
Tell
do
you
this.
what. I've got an idea. So in December, I'm going to come back to Arran, and last year what I was going to do is I was going to do a 12 days of farming on Arran, right? And I was going to speak to 12 different people on the island. So I'll come over, and you'll be one of the 12 if you're happy to.
yes.
Both.
Yeah.
And I'll guide you on what to say, and it'll be fine. And
Yeah.
then I'll edit it together, and it'll genuinely look like you'll be like, oh my god, this is so easy to make it like this. I'll show you how to edit it, and then that'll be a good time for you to start a YouTube channel.
Yes, please.
Sounds
That
like
would
a
be
plan.
good. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good idea. Good idea.
Over the phone handshake. If you're still listening, I should have said this at the start, but by the way, I'm speaking to viewers here, not yourself, so I assume you're still listening. That was zoned out half an hour ago. If you are still listening, if you I've enjoyed Chelsey and John's story. The place to check them out is Our Life Farming, not Our Farming Life. That is a different couple that we have had on the podcast. A kind of similar story from you two, in fairness. So it could be interesting for you two to maybe have a chat sometime. But check out Our Life Farming, and soon to be on YouTube, which is fun. And what was I going to say? Yeah, last week we had Tara van der Dusen and Natalie Kovarik over from the States on the podcast talking about Elevate Ag and Women in Ag and their business that sort of looks at promoting sharing online in the ag space. And next week, I don't know who I've got. It'll be R2Kast number 70, which is kind of mad, actually. Kind of mental. It only started mid-January last year. Here we are, 70th episode. Once I get to 74, that'll be my 100th interview conducted, because I had 26 before the podcast.
Wow.
So yeah, it's kind of crazy. By the time this podcast is out, we will have had the first ever R2 group podcast. So I haven't got a name for that. It's with Countryside Learning, who are a charity, a non-profit that look at getting rural sort of industries into schools and seeing how people can find a way into those sectors in the future. It is also, I'm not going to say the word owned because I don't think you own a charity, but run, and I think he's the CEO of my uncle, so it'll be another interesting chat. We'll see you next week for R2Kast number 70. I hope both of you have enjoyed yourself. Well, three of you, sorry.
Yes, we
Yes,
have.
it's been amazing. Thank you.
Good. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. Thankfully, we finally got there, and we'll see you all for R2Kast number 70 with a person.
Well, that's it. Another R2Kast finished. Another agricultural mind opened up. And I would just like to say that getting these guests on board, it does take time, and it always has done. But I've now went weekly, and with that comes even more time required. And I would just like to finally thank once more the Scottish Farmer for sponsoring the show and making that much more possible. Please be sure to get in touch if you've any ideas of people you'd like to see on the podcast, or maybe ideas you have for me presenting better, because I definitely do require that. See you in the next one.